In the last video, I spent $2,600 on this Allez Sprint Comp, did a full review of it, video up here. In this video, we're going to be talking about how we spent $1,500 on upgrades and how we made this bike 20 watts faster at 30 k's an hour. Yes, you heard me right, 20 watts faster. Let's check it out. So first of all, one of the most immediate improvements is just how the bike looks. The bike looks a lot more stunning now, looks more like a race bike, looks like something you'd happily roll up to on the local group ride. I love how it looks. The whole blackness of the bike contrasted with the purple frame, I think really makes the frame pop. Even little 105 on here is looking pretty cool because he's in black too. So yeah, I love the aesthetics of the bike and how that turned out. 50mm wheels. I feel these days 50mm wheels are looking shallower and shallower because we're getting used to bigger wheels and stuff. But on here, these 50mm wheels I think look proportionally perfect. And that big 140mm stem on there also makes the bike look super racy and super aggressive. So aesthetically, I definitely love how it turned out. But let's break down all the parts that we did. How did we spend our $1,500 and how did we get to here? So in the comments of the last video, when I was asking you how I should upgrade it, some people were saying I should put some Farsports on there. I listened and I went and asked Farsports and they were more than happy enough to support this video and supply some parts as well. So very cool. Thank you, Farsports, for joining together on this project. So Farsports agreed to help me out, but they also agreed to help you guys out for the next few weeks, months, I'm not sure, I think just weeks until stocks are gone. You buy any Farsports wheel set, if you add $100 you can get a Farsports F1S. If you add $150 you can get a Farsports F1X. These handlebars are usually like $400. So for these dollars, just add $100 or $150, absolute bargain. And I used that deal to get the cost of this upgrade down as well. So let's have a look through at what we got. So wheels, start with the wheels. We got the Farsports S5 series, the non-Evo version, because like I say, we're trying to squeeze the budget a bit. These wheels, 1,299 USD. They're 50mm deep, 30mm wide on the outside, and 24mm wide on the inside. Very modern sizes. We've got carbon spokes on here. So previously, they all had these 5mm wide carbon spokes. Farsports have recently now changed to 3.8mm carbon spokes. They did some wind tunnel testing and the 3.8s were apparently faster. These are an older wheel set that Farsports had lying around for this project, so these are the 5mm version. If you do want the 5mm version, you can actually say when you order and they'll give you the 5mm version, but usually the spokes that you'll get are a little bit thinner than this, so I just thought I'd point that one out there. But yeah, these are carbon spokes, laced to Farsports' own hubs. A super light wheel set. The official weight is 1,230 grams. Mine came in at 1,235 grams, so just a tiny bit over. But the stock wheels that are on this bike, the DTSS wheels, were 1,860 grams. So even with these wheels alone, we're saving 625 grams of weight. Obviously, these wheels also look cooler and hopefully should be more aero as well. And again, we'll talk about that later on in the video. So yeah, that was the first part of our budget gone. Then the next part of the budget, like I say, we added $100 to get this Farsports F1S bar. I got it in a monstrous size, so I've got a 140mm stem on there with a 36cm handlebar, all of the aero gains. Official weight on this one, again, 325 grams. Mine with that huge stem, a little bit heavier, 337 grams. The original Specialized cockpit, let me weigh it and see how heavy that was. So just weighed the original Specialized cockpit, stem and handlebar. They came in at 383 grams. So that means by switching this cockpit, we've saved 46 grams. But obviously with the cockpit, the main advantage isn't just the weight. We're also about the ergonomics, getting into a more aero position. And also now all the cables are fully internally routed. So that is cool. Obviously Farsports have a whole bunch of different spaces for different frames. For the Allez Sprint, it comes with even a different little compression ring just to get the gaps there running nice and stuff. And yeah, now this is fully internally cable routed. The next item upgraded, being a bit cheeky, was these Arisun Storm tires. So these tires on Pandapodium, when you add $60 you can have these tires with the wheels as well. So these were more about rolling resistance than weight savings. The original stock Specialized tires, they had a 60 TPI tire on there. These have a TPI of 330. So all things being equal, the more TPI you have, the less rolling resistance there is. And those Specialized tires, I think, were really slowing the bike down before. Also, the old Specialized tires were a 26. These are a 28, so keeping things a bit more modern. They're also a little bit lighter. The old tires are 260 grams per tire. These are 225 grams a tire, so add that up and that's 70 grams saved on the tires. They're also bigger, so they should be more comfortable, and they're also higher TPI, so they should roll faster as well. So yeah, tires are definitely a place where you can make some cool gains. Associated with that as well, the TPU tubes. So before we had Specialized inner tubes on here, they were 130 grams each. Now we've got the Ride Now TPU tires in there. They're 36 grams each. That saved us another 56 grams, and also saved us a bunch of rolling resistance as well. So tires and tubes, a place where you can spend relatively little money and get big gains on there as well. Another area where I've been a bit cheeky and not included it in the budget is the saddle. The old Specialized saddle wasn't doing wonders for my undercarriage, so I swapped out for one of the saddles I use on lots of my builds. So my favorite saddle is the MVMT saddle, which I use on my AR1 and stuff, but that's like a $300 saddle, so I didn't have the budget for that one on this. This is just a cheap, generic Chinese, unbranded carbon saddle. They're usually about like $10, $15 on AliExpress or whatever, and around 100 grams. The original Specialized saddle was 297 grams, so that's another 197 grams saved, but more importantly, my nuts are saved because this kind of saddle is a lot more comfortable for me. That old one was kind of chewing up my undercarriage. You don't need to know about that. But yeah, been a bit cheeky, didn't include it in the budget, but usually when you're upgrading a bike, you have a saddle off your other bike or something. But if not, if you're budget restricted, go on AliExpress, go on eBay, buy a cheap generic saddle. If you really want the king of the kings, then yeah, get something like the MVMT 63 gram saddle and all that stuff. But for this project, we'll stick with Old Faithful up here. If my maths is right, all of that should add up to just over a kilo of weight savings-ish, but there's only one way to find out. Let's chuck it on the scales and see. Okay, so previously we're at like 9.2, 9.3 kilos with pedals, with Garmin mount, everything. So that's how we are here. We've still got pedals, power meter pedals on here, Garmin mount, all that stuff. And let's chuck her on and see what we've done. Boom, 8.045. So yeah, just over a kilo saved. So still not the lightest bike in the world. We're just over 8 kilos. With pedals and everything, but yeah, definitely not the heaviest bike in the world and a big improvement for what it was before. Okay, but with all these upgrades and the bike now transformed, how does it feel on the road? Totally transformed, I will say that. I always say, especially rolling weight, if you can get rid of rolling weight off a bike, it totally transforms how it feels, especially off the line, like pulling away from a set of traffic lights or whatever. This thing now is just totally different from before. Obviously, the main thing about that is the wheels. We've dropped like 600-700 grams off wheels. Tires and inner tubes have also dropped a lot of weight. So getting rid of that rotational mass definitely makes the bike a lot more lively and springly off the line and out of corners and stuff. Also, the carbon spokes have made it feel a lot more snappy as well. Obviously, the frame, an aluminum frame, is already a pretty snappy, stiff frame. So putting carbon spokes on there just kind of turns that up to 11. Obviously dropping a kilo, it now climbs better than before as well. I've not done the same monster climb as before, but I'll talk about that later. And sprinting, it sprints a lot better now too. I think that is partly down to the new handlebar. I kind of like how it feels, the Farsports handlebar. The shape of the drops are kind of oval shaped, so you can really grab them and really rip on them when you're sprinting. So yeah, all of that feels a lot better now. But feelings are only part of the equation. We need to talk about performance, and what performance increases have we seen? Okay, so I'm going to talk you through the performance upgrades that we've seen. After the video, in the bonus clip, I'm going to go into the actual details of how I got to these numbers. So this bit is the trust me bro section, but if you don't trust me, wait till the bonus clip time and I'll talk through it. But yeah, so as I said in the intro, at 30 k's an hour, we are now 20 watts faster. Obviously, me being a skinny guy, only 52 kilos, that is a lot of watts for me. How does that break down? Roughly, we've lost about 5 watts of rolling resistance with the tires and tubes. We've got about 8 watts of aero thanks to the new, more aggressive position and narrower bars. And we've got about 7 watts of aero from the cleaner lack of cables, from the more aero wheels, and from the more aero handlebar. So that's roughly how those 20 watts breaks down. How does that work out? Over the course of a 40-kilometer course, this is now 4 minutes faster. Yeah, so 4 minutes faster over 40 Ks is huge performance gains. On that climb I was talking about, the HC climb, you're now 2 minutes faster on this. So it was like an hour and 5 minutes before, you're now down to an hour and 3 minutes. So 2 minutes faster over that climb, also not bad. And if we change that 30 Ks up to 45 Ks an hour, you're now 73 watts faster. That is massive, massive gains for $1,500. So yeah, in the bonus clip, like I say, I'll tell you how I got to those numbers, but yeah, huge performance gains out of these upgrades. So yeah, in conclusion, as I said in the original video, the original bike, $2,600, wasn't that good value, but these $1,500 of upgrades, have they been good value? Again, it'll depend on your own opinion and own weight that you put on that. For me, I think it's totally transformed the bike from what it was before, as I said, in terms of the ride feel, but also in terms of the performance numbers and the aesthetics have all been totally transformed. 20 watts faster at 30 Ks an hour is huge. 1 kilo lighter isn't the best improvement ever. You know, $1,500 to get 1 kilo lighter. You could definitely do better on that. But like I say, our main focus wasn't weight. You know, lots of the things have been against us in that sense. You know, we went from skinny climbing wheels to deep aero wheels. We went from a short 80mm stem up to a 140mm stem. We went from 26mm tires to 28mm tires. So to drop a kilo of weight while doing all of those changes at the same time, yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why the 1 kilo isn't that impressive. As you look at this, obviously there is still a huge amount of weight that we can drop from this. This 105 crank is just staring at me. Obviously behind here on these shelves, we've got Dura Ace cranks, Magine cranks, Cybre cranks, all that stuff. So easy to drop some weight off there. This 105 cassette on the back, also a big chunky boy, that could have a huge weight to drop there. And the 105 group set, that could be lighter still too. So should we carry on with this project? Should we keep burning money and dumping money into it and see how far we can take it? Or do we think it's already there? Yeah, I'm tempted to change a few things. I want to get that weight down. It's not bad at the minute, but yeah, I think 7.5, 7.6 would make this a lot more competitive bike, so we'll see what we can do there. But yeah, if you want to replicate something like this and give your bike a bit of an upgrade, now is definitely the perfect time to do it, thanks to Farsports and the deal they have on. Head on over to farsports.com and check out the deal over there. Like I said, any of their wheels that you buy, you add $100 and you get the F1S, or add $150 and get the F1X. So farsports.com, check it out. This is while stocks last. They are running out of some size of the bar, so you might have to have some back and forth to find a size that fits you. I think they're gonna go pretty quickly with this deal, so make sure you get it early so you get your perfect size out of bar. Thanks again to Farsports for supporting the video. Of course, you can also find Farsports products on pandapodium.cc, my website, and also offline you can as well. Farsports getting more and more dealers around the world offline. I know if you're in Australia, there's quite a few shops stocking them now as well. Big ups to my man Nathan, the distributor for Farsports down in Australia, so check them out too. But yeah, as always, any comments or feedback, do let me know in the comments down below. I read every comment. And yeah, let me know, was this good value for money on the upgrades? Do we still keep going further? And yeah, I'll see you next time. China Cycling out. It's the bonus clip time. Okay, so bonus clip time. How did I end up at this crazy figure of 20 watts at 30 Ks an hour? Let me walk you through it. So you can follow me on Strava, by the way, and you'll get to see a kind of a behind the scenes of all this stuff as it happens. So Strava link in the description down below, and also you can go check my maths, make sure I'm not doing any dodgy cheating stuff. But basically here in Xiamen we have this very cool little running track, which I call the poor man's velodrome, which is perfect for aero testing. It's a 1 kilometer track, there's usually nobody there, so you can just do your own thing and get on with it all day long. And what did we do there? So if we go down to laps, basically, I would go there and sit at 30 k's an hour in the same position, in the same lane of the running track, and do 3 laps. So 3 kilometers at 30 k's an hour, and then I would see how much power it takes. And if you're thinking, wow, that sounds a bit bro science, how consistent can that be? Look at the screen and I'll show you. So the first time I did it, we did 3 laps, so just 3.1 k's as you can see here. 30 k's an hour exactly. I was using the Garmin with 2 decimal places, so it was super precise. And look at this, power 140 watts, boom. And then the next time I did it, again, another 3.1 k's, 30 k's an hour. Oh look, exactly 140 watts again. And look, the third time I did it, 3.1 k's, 30.1 k's an hour apparently, 140 watts, boom, exactly the same. So I don't know why this one says 30.1, because if you look, the time is the same, 6 minutes 12, 6 minutes 12, 6 minutes 12, and the distance is the same, 3.1, 3.1, 3.1. So sometimes Strava is just a bit funny, but again, that consistency is pretty crazy. You think about a power meter only has 1% accuracy or whatever, all 3 of my runs exactly 140 watts. You know, usually you dip your head and it's like 2 watts saving. So to do that, I think that is proof that this method is a good method of testing things. And if you look at my heart rate is kind of bobbing around a bit, 149, 148, 143. But either way, that shows that this is a good way of measuring stuff. So this was pre-upgrades. So we did 140 watts, 140 watts, 140 watts. That is my just all day on the HUD's position. Then just for fun, I went into the Aero HUD's position and I did 129 watts. Interestingly, you'll see my heart rate was still 148 though, because while you save a lot of watts and the power you're putting out, the biological cost to hold the Aero HUD's position is quite high. So actually no saving of heart rate, but we'll put a pin in that. And then I did one last run down here, which you'll see 103 watts. This was interesting. This was me sitting behind my mate James, who's a big boy and gives me quite a good draft. So yeah, exactly the same speed as you can see as before, but down to 103 watts. But we'll talk about those later. For now, the most important one, in the HUDs, riding around 140 watts, 140 watts, 140 watts. Then went back there after the upgrades and we'll see. So again, post upgrades aero testing. Here you can see the bike. Follow me on Strava. Did I say that? Yes, I did. Okay, and here we go again. So we go back to the same place and do the same runs again on a different day, but I did take air density measurements. I'll get onto that in a minute. But let's have a look at the numbers. So again, 30k run, 30k run, 30k run. The first run, as we have it here, 118 watts. The second run, again, 119 watts. Third run, 118 watts. So yeah, just 1 watt difference. Again, shows the consistency of the testing method. But more importantly, that is a 22 watt saving compared to the 140 watts of before. Absolutely massive at 30 k's an hour. So we can put this into my little spreadsheet. Every nerd has their own aero testing spreadsheet. As you see here, I'm breaking it down. Basically, that was the air density on the day before the upgrades, 1.141 kilos. And on the day after the upgrades, 1.15 kilos. So pretty much the same, but I've taken that into account with all my maths. You can check my maths and pause the video if you want. But long story short, before the upgrades, it works out that the CDA is basically 0.357. Now, I'm making some assumptions there about rolling resistance and stuff like that. Okay, but if we know the air density, we know the speed I was doing, we know the power I was doing, then we can basically work out the CDA. We do the same maths before and after the upgrades, and we can have what we have here. So before the upgrades, my aero power like 117.8 watts. After the upgrades, aero power about 96 watts and a saving of 21.69 watts. CDA saving of 0.068 meters. So yeah, decent savings. And like I say, this is at 30 k's an hour. I think that's more of a realistic speed that most people are riding at. Of course, if you're in a breakaway, if you're sprinting, your speeds are going to be higher. But for every guy doing the usual Sunday ride, average speed, which take into account climbing and stuff, probably around 30k an hour. I keep it at 30k an hour just to keep it more realistic, and also just to keep it easier to keep all of the things consistent, stay on exactly the same line on the course, all that stuff. If we go further down in my Excel, it tells you the speed at power. So if I was doing 200 watts before the upgrades, I'll be doing 35k an hour. If I was doing 200 watts after the upgrades, I'll be doing 38k an hour. So at 200 watts, I've gained 2.5k an hour. At 250 watts, I've gained 2.7k an hour. At 300 watts, I've gained 2.2 2.8 k's an hour, and at 400 watts I've gained 3.16 k's an hour. And then we can also do it backwards, power at speed. So for me, before the upgrades, to do 45 k's an hour, it needed 397 watts. Now, after the upgrades, to do 45 k's an hour, I need 324 watts. And that is the 73 watt saving I was talking about earlier. So yeah, a 73 watt saving at 45 k's an hour is huge. Now, obviously I didn't do 45 k's an hour, this is worked out, and you don't know exactly how much the rolling resistance will go up at that speeds compared to aero and stuff like that, but it's ballpark, back of a fag packet, and good enough maths. And then right at the bottom here, we have the other thing I was talking about, the time to do 40 k's an hour. So again, if I was doing 200 watts, 250 watts, 300 watts, or 400 watts, how long it would take me to do a 40k, 1 hour, 7 minutes at 200 watts, whereas after the upgrades, it only take me 1 hour and 2 minutes. So that's the 4-minute saving at 40 k's an hour. And again, you save a little bit less time the faster you're going, but yeah, that's because it's taking less time to get around the course. Pretty interesting. And then finally, the last thing I was talking about, the climb. So I actually ended up breaking my toes, so I couldn't do as much riding as I wanted to after these upgrades, so I didn't actually go back to the climb. Also, the Legend During rider was in town, and Michelle from China popped by, so that also stunted progress a bit, but not blaming them, just real world excuses. So I didn't actually go back to the climb, but using the same CDA savings and using the weight savings, we can do some maths and work out the climb. So the first time I did the climb, it was 1 hour and 2 minutes and 51 seconds. The aero savings at those speeds, it adds up to 1 minute and 7 seconds, and the weight savings of saving just over 1 kilo on the bike is 42 seconds. Put those together and you're saving 1 minute and 49 seconds on that climb. So you go from a 1 hour 251 to a 1 hour 102, which in Strava land, that would take you from being about 344th to being about 307th on the leaderboard. So yeah, pretty good upgrades. But that is my math. That is how I got to the conclusion. Let me know if you disagree with my testing methods. Interestingly as well, I did 1 aero heads position test on the bike as well, and 104 watts. So yeah, me plus this bike now, we can get pretty aero. 104 watts to do 30 k's an hour. I don't know how many watts you have to do 30 k's an hour, but it's probably more than 104, I guess. And like I say, this 104 here is very close to the 103 when I was behind my mate James. So essentially, these upgrades on this bike have basically made it so now I have a domestique riding around in front of me all day, every day, which is pretty cool for $1,500. Anyway, that's the end of the bonus clip time. I guess I'll really see you next time. And this is really China cycling out.